Hi, folks, and welcome back to another EDGEy conversation. I'm really excited today. We've got an Embracing the Spirit grant recipient, Carol, who is a retired minister from Star City in Saskatchewan, joining us to talk a little bit about the work that's been happening in their community and what innovative project they have on the go. So with that said, Carol, I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us a bit about yourself and what's the innovative project or program your community has been working on.
Okay, well, I'm a retired minister trying not to not be retired. And so I do some work in the church, and my husband's also a minister. He's also retired. Star City, little tiny town, 480 people. My name is still on the church sign. They don't want to take it off, and they asked me, and I said, it's fine there, I guess. So so I don't know what else you want to know about me. So
wonderful. No, that's so great to get a sense of where you're coming from and who you are. What have you been up to? I know you're a recipient of the Embracing the Spirit grant. So what innovative project or program did your community work on?
Well, we have a program we call the Star City Community Pantry. And it started off one day in winter. We were giving hampers out every winter, January hampers actually, because it clashed with the Salvation Army winter hampers. So we give them January hampers and people can get 2 hampers, which was kind of good. So we had all this food left over, and somebody said we could have our own food bank. And somebody said, we don't really want a food bank. And someone else said, that's a good idea. So we took it to the board, and we had a spontaneous meeting, and they all agreed we could do that. So someone said, well, we'll involve the community in this. So the name Pantry came up instead of food bank. So it's very different than a food bank, actually. And that's how it started. And we started in February 2021 at the very last week. And I bought $75 worth of groceries. We added it to our hampers and we put it on table, and we had advertised a little bit. And myself and someone else, we sat there, and I sat there by myself too for about 3 weeks. Nobody came. And we said, well, it will happen because it's free food and people need free food in this town. So, and one day, one person came and he told everybody else, and then people started to come. And we've had up to 13 people, mostly 7 or 8 though, at a time. Yeah, so it's a community effort. We involve the community in the town hall, the town office across the road from the church. The mayor, who's one of our congregation members, of course, she's the first female mayor in Star City. And she said we should put up a basket and collect food in the town office. So we did that. We get some in there, not regular, we get some. And there's a little garage station grocery store sort of at the beginning of town. It's sort of a gathering place. And we try to buy some produce and stuff from them. Milk and eggs we buy from them to involve them. Some people have given some items who work at the store. And everybody in town when we first started thought it was a good idea, and people went around smiling at us, so that was kind of neat. And we agreed it's not like a food bank for sure, because and more we learned about food banks from the people who came to the pantry, the more we were very happy that we weren't a food bank, because we don't have those rules that food banks have. And people were telling us about the different food banks in the area, and how they could only get food once a month, perhaps, and they're given what they're just given food. Nobody asks them what they need, and they have to produce their financial state before they do that, and their names are recorded and all this. So we don't do any of that at all, and we're open to anyone. If you can be rich and you can come and get food if you want to. And anyone can come and get food from the pantry. So that's been working very well.
Yeah.
People feel very relaxed when they come.
I love that. And it was going to be one of my questions, and I'm so glad that you've clarified like what made it different from a food bank. But I think this is these pieces around like retaining dignity and allowing people to just show up and be embraced by community is what I'm really hearing. Wow,
Mhm,
very
mhm.
cool. So I'm hearing lots of things that I'm like really intrigued by and interested about. It's sounding like it's a true community effort to bring together
Mhm.
this pantry. And I love this different lens of how do we not repeat a service that already exists, or how do we do, collective care or sharing responsibility in our community in a different way. But I'm wondering what's been kind of the most surprising thing for you folks about this experience?
Um, Having the pantry has been a surprise. Um, just having it. In my 20 years of ministry, I've always tried to do something like this, but it never really happened like this. It might have happened in different ways, but not like this. And around here, the other churches, they're not close by. They're 20 minutes from now. Here, the closest ones. They give food or money to the Salvation Army and let them do it, and they don't do it themselves. So, and some churches have food in their office that someone might come to the door and ask for it, but it's not a lot and it's not regular, and there's always suspicion and around that. So we decided to dispense with all that, not suspect anyone who comes. So surprises. We had no expectations how many would come or how long we would exist as a pantry. And it's been almost a year and a half. Um, and it was surprised when the first person came. It was the fourth week, I think it was. Might have been the third week, can't remember. And that was a man. He walked in and he was surprised too. He said, "What do I do?" And he was all ready to give forth and answer questions. And we just said, all you have to do is just take what you want there. We sort of changed from that because when COVID came, we decided it was better if one of us put on gloves and put the items in the people's bags for them. But they'd say what items they want. So it's not a give whatever we think they need thing at all. So surprising. Um, some people, one lady in BC, she used to live in Star City. She was 96. She heard about this food bank and she gave us $1,000, which really cheered us up. We thought, oh my goodness, this is very far reaching, and which helped a lot too, because it takes quite a bit of money to run this. So yeah, I have to change my page. I don't want to forget anything. So, oh yeah, and someone talked to the bakery in Melfort, which is about 20 minutes away, and the man there is quite awesome. And so they're giving us free bread and buns every week, a whole pile of bread and buns. And we go there every Monday. We call them first and to see if they have anything, and they always do. Only once they didn't. And we get this big, huge pile of bread. I don't know, 10 to 15 loaves of bread, maybe more. And the Hutterite colony donated their potatoes all winter, huge bags of potatoes, could hardly lift them. And every week we got these bags of potatoes, and we sort of had too many bags of potatoes for one time or a couple of times, but it was fine. They all went. Before that, we were giving out potatoes, like we'd buy a bag for the pantry and we'd give them out a few at a time. But but when people came, we said, take potatoes, take the whole bag. And so it was very awesome, very humorous. And one family, their kids are farmers too, older teenagers. They have 4-H cows, and they had 4-H bulls that they auctioned off that they'd raised from calves. And it was quite a thing for them to sell their steers. I guess they're steers, they're not calves and bulls. And one man who's very awesome, he bought, I think, 2 steers, it might have been 3, from these kids. And then he said the only thing he wanted, and when he bought these, was that the money would go to the food bank. And so they gave us a lot of hamburger and stewing meat, and I tried some, is delicious. That's all gone now, but but that was awesome. So that was a surprise. And the innovation grant was a surprise too. I was just looking through United Church stuff and I saw, oh, maybe we could apply for this. And lo and behold, we got a bit more than we asked for. That was kind of nice. And all these little things really give you a boost when you're doing this, because the church is small. We only have, on a Sunday, we can have one person or 5 or 10, 15 maybe at the most. And it's a very small congregation.
Mhm.
So, because we stay in Star City, my husband and I, they think they can survive forever, but I'm not so sure that will happen. But yeah, so there's been a lot of surprises too, probably more. Oh, one surprise was when it got cold in the winter. Like the fall was all right. People lined up outside the church door when the time came, but it was too cold really for them to wait outside. So we invited them in and we gave them coffee and cookies and sat them around. We were distancing because of COVID and wearing masks and sanitizing, and we sat them around. And at first they were very, they didn't really know each other very well, but now they're all talking to each other and they know each other, which was, really kind of nice. We have more people coming to the pantry than we do to church on Sunday sometimes. So yeah, that's really, it's a good thing they come in and talk, and they all love the coffee. They just rush to the coffee and cookies. So, and one surprise was one young guy who was coming now and then to the pantry came one time and he sat down and he acted a little bit different, and it was his turn, like to get food, like people go in turns. And he said, no, I don't want any food this time. And we all looked at him and he says, my birthday, I just came to celebrate my birthday. So yeah, that was a nice surprise. We almost made him take food home. He took milk and eggs, I think, or something, but that was really a good thing.
Wow. Yeah,
There's been a
that's
lot of other surprises too.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything you're describing too is it's not just about, here's food or folks can meet that basic need. It's also about like being in relationship, building community, building connection. Because I'm like, oh, it was important enough for him to just come and sit with you folks on his birthday.
Yeah, he's probably lonesome. I don't know a lot about the people that come because we don't try, to know anything, but things come out now and then. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think he lives by himself. It's quite lonesome, but it was great that he did that. It really was.
Yeah, and I heard you say too, your congregation is on the smaller side of things, and you're not in a very big town to begin with. Has it just been like a real team effort to support the pantry and continuing?
Yeah, it's a team effort. There's 3 of us that are the ones that mainly do it. But there's 2 husbands too that do a lot. And people will, like if we said, we needed this and this, it would just appear. Like they're very good. They all are proud of it actually. During COVID, it was hard because everything stopped. We stopped having activities, and this really cheered people up to have this
Wow.
during that time. So yeah.
Wow, really cool. And that kind of leads to my next question is how is this part of, the journey of faith or your story of faith as a community?
Journey of faith. Well, the whole thing is a faith journey. So yeah, from the beginning, I felt that the Spirit was leading us or guiding us or doing this because we didn't try to do it. Like things that changed just sort of happened. We didn't say, well, one example was one of the volunteers, she thought it was a good idea if she had some of the pantry people start a garden in the spring and work at it, and then they'd all this produce coming up. And they all, I wasn't there when this happened, but I heard about it. They all agreed that would be a really good idea, but nobody wanted to do it. And it frustrated her to no end. But I said, we've never really done things like this. We've never presumed that people would do things. We don't ask them to come to church. We don't even think they would. We don't ask them to help out. So it's just the way it happens, And yeah, it really was a good example of that. So the garden isn't happening. So But people will give us produce. Last year, they gave us a lot of produce, and as the gardens produced, yeah, they did, which is good.
Yeah.
And we always buy produce. Like I'm usually the one that does it for the pantry to make sure there's onions and carrots and a cabbage now and then, and a couple of bananas and it all goes, tomatoes. Right now we have too many carrots in the fridge, so we just have a little church fridge that's really full, and we have a small little church freezer that gets full of bread every week. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I
it's a
think
faith journey. It's a faith journey. It's totally spiritually driven in my mind anyway. I can't speak for the rest, but I think they would agree.
no, and I think that example you gave is really, really poignant, because I think it really is about, sitting in discernment and really trying to be open and listen to where God is leading us. Instead of trying to think about what we think might be right for our communities or what we think should happen, is really
Yeah.
about just like, can we hear and follow where we're being called or pulled towards?
Yeah, you have to be open.
Mhm.
And when the pantry food items started falling off the table, we thought we needed another table. Like we didn't know, we didn't put up one in the expectation, but only when we had to, we put up. Well, now we have 2 more tables on top of the one we had. So yeah,
Wow. Really wonderful.
it's very interesting. There was one man in the church who was very skeptical at first, and now he's the one that brings in a lot of the groceries. So that's kind of neat. Yeah.
That's great. And so I guess that kind of points me towards, my last maybe really big question is, where do you folks see yourselves going next? Have you heard where the call is leading you, or how this might continue to unfold?
Well, we're going to go through the summer. We said we would, and unless we don't have any money or any food or any people coming. But you can't control that kind of thing. So the church has been carrying the financial weight, most of it, other than the grant we got and some donations. But it's always tense when there's a board meeting and we talk about the pantry. I think, well, maybe they'll decide they don't want to do this, but there's no sign of that. They decided they would, and they put it in their budget. The board is usually the people that are coming to church anyway, so we're very small. Yeah, and so it's in their budget, and I think it was 6,000 or 7,000 for the year they put in, which isn't enough to run the pantry. It'll get us through the summer because it's about what is it, 1,300 a month it's costing us, but that includes this very small honorarium. So yeah, it's very costly, but we're okay for the summer, and we're going to do the summer and into the fall. So yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, and it sounds a bit like maybe trusting, that the right next thing will happen. And you can
If it
see.
doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's not,
Yeah.
we can't do that. We can't do anything about it.
No, it's this sort of graceful place, right? Of being content and present in what you
Yeah.
do have and where it might go. And if that includes not having it at the end of summer, then that's a place that you'll sit in when you arrive there.
That'll be very disappointing to these people that come all the time, though, especially with the rise in food prices.
Mhm.
People are very thankful. The idea for some might be that what groceries they get every week, $30, $40, maybe not very much really, will help them buy gas if they have a car. Some don't. Or, buy a pair of shoes or something. Like they run on a very small budget. So, it's not just the food. The food helps a lot
Mhm.
because it helps them with other things. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And we try to give them nutritious food, not just white bread. I can't stand that white bread. I'm always very verbal about it, but they like white bread. And so
Mhm.
we asked them for one time, I made a little piece of paper and I put down on it, what would you like the pantry to have? And they just didn't answer it. They would just say, we take what you have, you know, but after a while, some will say, well, I like this and I like that. And then you can really tell what they like. And so we try to get those things for them as we can.
Yeah, it's really, and I think like things I'm hearing like this, it's not like you said, it's not just about providing them with food, it's about the ripple impact, right? Of if we can take care of this one small area when costs are exorbitant for people all over the place and when things are financially tight, what it might enable them to do in other portions of their life is really exciting to think about the ripple effect of more than just food.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're on that tight of low income, it's really awful. So,
Yeah.
you know, you can't buy birthday presents or you can't treat yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that piece about the dignity, right, of lots of us who do have the capacity to, you know, walk into any old grocery store, we can pick out the things that we like or that we enjoy eating or preparing. So having the capacity to actually be involved and pick what food you eat or what food you prepare for your family is kind of a fundamental thing to being human.
Yeah, it is. And most food banks, if this was a food bank, but it isn't, would give macaroni and beans and stuff like that. And we try to get things that like mustard and ketchup and things that you wouldn't buy normally, pickles maybe. And there's been toothpaste and toothbrushes, and there's been some sanitary napkins for people. There's been diapers and yeah, so there's been things that people, and oh, garbage bags, goodness, when people come in and see garbage bags, they just grab them like nothing else. Yeah, so yeah.
Cool. Amazing. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about this incredible pantry or the experience that you folks have had together in doing this project?
Well, it's a very small thing really in the scheme of things, but it's also a very large thing. And for those people who come, it means a lot to them. One of the volunteers, she's low income herself, and she knows the other people better than we do. She sort of sits in the middle of two worlds, and she's the one getting the honorarium, and she really, it's good for her to have this honorarium. And I forget where I was going with this, but it may be a small thing in the large scheme of things, but to me, it's huge. And it's one of the best things I've done in my 20 years being ordained. And I've said that to them and they all look, really? But it's true. And yeah, it's very worthwhile, even though it's small. And to me, it's like the people who have the money, have more than they need. They give it to those who don't have what they need. They have less than they need. It's a distribution of the wealth in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you've said is really important. And, you know, before we started recording today, I had mentioned that lots of times I've got rural folks or rural communities trying to think about what innovation project might they do. And I think you've actually maybe roundabout answered it for me, is like, it might seem really simple. It might not seem like a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it actually really means a lot and is huge for the folks in your community who are accessing it.
It is. It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for the ones that are coming most of the time, you know, 7 or 8 of them. It's hard to draw a line, but yeah, they really appreciate it.
Yeah. And so for them, this, you know, what seems like a really simple, sort of straightforward, innovative project, it actually means a great deal and is significant in their lives, which is really exciting to be reminded of that our innovative projects don't have to be these grand schemes. They can be starting a pantry in your community.
Yeah, this is a very small town. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really wonderful. If folks wanted to chat with you more about the experience you've had or be in touch, is there a way that they could do that or could find out more information about your little pantry?
Yeah, I have email, but they can, the Star City website, I don't think the pantry is advertised on there, but the Star City has a website.
Okay.
And yeah, they can email if they want to.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Carol. I'll leave some of those details in the description box below here when this video comes out. But I'm really grateful for your time today, telling us about what's a hugely important project in the community, and grateful to hear about, what it's meant for you, what it's meant for all the folks who access it, and what it might mean for other communities as they think about different simple ways they can make a lot of difference in people's lives.
It'll be a very simple thing to do in a community. Yes, it would be. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Carol. I'm really grateful for your time and for your work in Star City, as I know lots of other folks are as well.
Thank you very much. Been a very nice interview. Thank you.